Greetings, everyone. My name is Nduduzo Makhathini. I'm a pianist, composer, improviser, healer, among many other things. And I'm truly thankful to have this opportunity to share about some of what I've seen, some of what I've experienced in my very short journey. But as I was looking through the questions that my sister sent me, I realized that actually I know less. Just like trying to think about what sort of moments do you select in telling the story in a meaningful way. And I realized that perhaps it's important to anchor this on my upbringing. This morning I was just like looking through some photo albums here at home, and I found this picture of me and my younger brother doing perhaps our first explorations with recorded musics. And this was in the early 90s. And so it's a picture of me seated on a keyboard. My mother used to have this keyboard that could program some beats, and you could put layers and layers and layers. I think up to about 6 tracks of different instruments. And then we had this old tape recorder, and then we had like a normal cassette player. And so what we would do is would program the beat on this keyboard and, have a bass line, have some chords, have some percussion and stuff like that. And we were self-taught at the time, just figuring it out. And we would start then by recording onto the tape recorder. So the first take with us singing some backing vocals of whatever that we'll be doing, singing those backing vocals to the keyboard track while recording on the tape recorder. And then we'll take that cassette out and now play it on the cassette player while we figure out a second layer, which is now the lead vocals. And we'll do a couple of those until the sound starts phasing out. So I just thought, oh man, actually we started before we even knew we were starting. So that, first and foremost, that's normally how I think a meaningful journey will start. It will start in moments where you don't realize that you have actually started. And of course, the upbringing was accompanied by sound. So there was no moment of saying, now I'm a musician, just because you were born in this music thing. Every event that we went to, it was about learning more songs and finding meaning in song with regards to events, with regards to time, with regards to space. So these connections were made quite early. But I wasn't really asked to talk about that, but I just figured that was important. Then fast forward, studying music at UKZN, and then coming up to Joburg. And this is something that not a lot of people would know, that when I came to Joburg, I was not really known as a jazz pianist, because one of my first few gigs in Joburg, one was a Lilizela Mlilizeli show, which Mr. Andy Leyenana was a musical director for. And this had nothing to do with jazz, it just had everything to do with music. And when I eventually moved full-time in Joburg, my full-time gig was with Lebu Matosa. And of course, at the time I was working with Jabu Hlongwane, I was working with Ubaba Mthunzi Namba, I was working with Adamo Fukati, I was working with so many people that are seen as being outside of the jazz domain. But why I'm mentioning this is because the musicality is in everything. It's about understanding and having an idea of a broader picture than just being fixed to a genre. But of course then, jazz would allow me to kind of connect with the aspects of improvisation earlier on in my journey. It would connect with the ideas of webula, with the ideas of divination, with the ideas of the unknown, with the gift of ubungoma. So it made sense for me to eventually embrace that as a kind of space for me to do the work yobungoma. So that's really my connection to jazz. It's the idea that it opens up space for a discourse broader than itself, a discourse much, much deeper than itself. So that's one of the biggest connections for me with jazz. And yeah, I think the other question was about like my life traveling and learning. So yeah, I've traveled a lot in the continent, and some of the memorable moments are really in Lagos when I would play, and Ubabu Masegela, Hugh Masegela would be there, and we were quite close, and he really just like looked after my journey in special ways. You know, he would come every now and again and say, I remember the other time he was listening to, I had sent him Listening to the Ground. He said, this album only has one song, is called From an Old Bag of Umkumbane. So he was like, everything else, I don't know what you're doing. He would always just like give me like that fatherly advice. So it was great to travel to Nigeria a couple of times, and he was in the lineup. Beautiful stories at the airport. Of course, there is no time to tell all of that. And also in Dakar, I got to hear Babu Randy Weston, someone I really respect, who has always been thinking about the transatlantic narrative in a very conscious way with regards to how sounds emerge from the continent and how they brought to other spaces. But like the resonator as being this idea of home, this idea of the continent as a motherland. So that was a beautiful moment for me to see, and he was given the highest respect. You know, I had never seen like a president particularly coming to see a set in a festival, and when Babu Randy Weston walked on the stage, the president stood up and the entire congregation stood up. It was such a beautiful moment, and just learning about like artists beyond the music, artists as beings in society, as fathers, as mentors. And then of course the rest of the journey is in the US and it's in Europe. In Europe, I started traveling many years ago, doing Avo session, doing a lot of festivals, touring mainly in Germany and the Scandinavian as well. And later on, I started playing with Babu Zimnawana, and there's just too many memories there. But what I really take is the highest form of respect that the audiences all around the world have for this music and for the story, the South African story in particular. And of course, currently my journey is connected in many ways with the US. I've been doing collaborations there, playing festivals and meeting great musicians. And I realized as well, like, you know, part of what really makes these connections special is to bring something from where you come from. So something that invokes the spirits of your people, that invokes a place, a history, a tradition, a culture. So I've been really honored that via Blue Note, there's been even more now connections there. So I've been collaborating with brothers that side, people I really respect, like Babu Logan Richardson, Nasheed Waits, Babu Winton, Marcellus. You know, it's just been truly an honor, and I'm really thankful. But I'm more thankful to the people here at home that have continued to support, and hope this helps somebody get somewhere. And of course, I'm not mentioning the fact that, like, you know, while this journey has been going on, I've been also pursuing a journey in the academia, because I just felt that like someone has to write these stories in meaningful ways and in an insider's perspective. I just felt like as we walk, someone has to document, and in an accurate way that sees people as part of a cosmology, that sees people as part of a culture, a part of a landscape. So I'm truly thankful. Love, love, love.